Hey team, Yasin here, and in this training, we're going to be talking about the evolution of a remote wellness practitioner, an RWP. And in this training, it's really going to go ahead and give you a 30,000 foot overview and a very insightful look at what your journey inside of this career is going to be, as well as your income potentials and caps at each of the different stages inside of your journey as an RWP. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so what is this RWP evolution training? Like I said, we're going to go ahead and break down the exact evolution of a remote wellness practitioner and the stages of growth that are required in order to get to the point where you're able to make 6 and 7 figures as a remote wellness practitioner. Okay, so the very first thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and talk about some of the misconceptions that people have around remote wellness practitioners, okay? Because similar to the misconception that people have about remote wellness, people also have misconceptions about RWPs, okay? Is because what we talked about in the what is remote wellness training, we talked about how remote wellness was all about transformation. Okay. And so what is an RWP then? An RWP, a remote wellness practitioner, is someone who facilitates that transformation. Okay. So in simplest terms, it's basically the day job of an RWP to transform the lives of people, right? And transform the lives of people, as we talked about in the remote wellness training, that's 4 different areas of life that are possible, right? So how cool is that? That your day job is to really transform the lives of people. Now, the thing is that when we talk about this, some people start to think, oh man, okay, well, I'm not a coach, I'm not healthy or fit, I don't have a degree or certification in health or nutrition or business or relationships or, I'm not, I can't do any of that stuff. And so, I don't think I can be a remote wellness practitioner. But here's the thing. None of these things are true and none of these things are required in order to be a successful remote wellness practitioner and in order to make 6 and 7 figures as a remote wellness practitioner, okay? Because the truth is that in order to be in remote wellness, you do not need to be an expert, okay? Because like we said, remote wellness is all about facilitating transformation. It's not about teaching. Right? Yes, there is some teaching, but like we talked about, it's about the basics and the foundations. It does not require for you to be an expert, okay? Now, the other thing is that it does not require for you to literally be the smartest person, to have degrees and certifications. You don't need any fancy letters after your name or needing to know about rocket science, right? And because you don't need to be an expert, there's no need for you to go out there and get a PhD to be an amazing remote wellness practitioner, okay? And on top of that, you don't got to have a 6-pack abs or be super into health and fitness. And like we talked about already, it's about more than just health and fitness. But even if you are doing health wellness, which is what you guys are primarily going to be focusing on in the beginning, you still don't need a 6-pack abs and be super into health and fitness. And the reason for that being, and let me just give you one area of life as an example, is let's go ahead and talk about the area of life which is health. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about that here for a second. And so the thing is that the reason you don't need to have degrees and credentials and specialization is because what we're talking about when we talk about helping people in wellness and get transformation is we're talking about the health population distribution curve. And the thing is that with this curve, this is basically any subset of a population in society follows this curve. It's called the bell curve. And so in any population size, there's going to be those people who, let's say in the transformation of health, they are in poor health. And then on the other side of it, you're going to have people who are in elite health. And then the vast majority of the population is going to be smack dab in the middle. And those are going to be the people that you are going to be primarily working with, right? And so as long as you stay in your lane and you don't try to cure somebody's illness or you're not trying to help somebody get to the Olympics, then you're good. And the crazy thing about this population distribution curve, there is a population distribution curve in all 4 areas of life as well. So for example, in wealth, right, there are those people who have extremely poor wealth, and there are those people who have extremely elite wealth. And so as long as you're focusing on the people who are in between, right? That middle area that's right there, right? Then you're able to really help them, right? And then you're not going to be helping people who are super poor, right? People who are really on the left side of this. And you're not trying to help people who are on the right side of this either. And so what you're doing is you're helping people right in the middle. And so for that, you don't need a degree or any credentials and all of that kind of stuff, right? Now, keep in mind, like we talked about before, you are only going into other areas of wellness and other areas of life to provide transformation after you're doing about $5,000 to $20,000 a month in health. Health is going to be the first place that you start off with, and then you are able to take it to the next level from there, okay? And then the other cool thing about this entire process is that even if you yourself struggle with things in health, right? The thing and the cool thing about this and the great news about this is that, like we talked about in previous trainings, you will also be having your own transformation in this process, right? And so as you learn, as you coach, as you help others, it's going to cement all of this for you as well. And so this is why becoming a remote wellness practitioner is the best investment that anyone can make in themselves, and it lasts a lifetime because it transforms your life in the making, okay? And so as long as you have the commitment to learn, the motivation to want to help others, and the drive to make this a successful career for yourself, you will be able to be successful with this, okay? And then on top of that, the other industry proven fact is that you can actually be overweight and still be a remote wellness practitioner that is helping people have transformation inside of their health. Because having transformation inside of your health does not mean conforming to a certain image that society says that it has to be like this. Right now, of course, you got to be able to work on your health, right? You got to be able to try to get better at it. You got to start to go on that journey. But the thing is that people don't want to learn from someone who has always been perfect or somebody who has never struggled before. People want to be able to learn how to get transformation from someone who that they can relate to. And so at the end of the day, when you are on that journey for yourself, and you have already started that journey for yourself, and you're going to continue to be on that journey, part of the reason why you take that journey in order to become an RWP is to be able to heal your own health and wellness struggles, right? Later on, as you start to be able to heal a lot of the difficulties that you might have in your financial situation, as you start to heal some of the difficulties that you have in your relationship situation, right? As you start to heal certain situations that you have with your connection to something greater, right? All of that is preparing you with the strategies and the tips that you're learning, so that way you can help others who are able to relate to your exact situation, okay? So all of this puts together exactly why when we talk about, I'm going to scroll back up on here, is when we talk about the misconceptions that people have about remote wellness practitioners, okay? So let's go ahead and talk next about why do people hire remote wellness practitioners. This is a very important point that we want to go ahead and touch base on inside of your evolution as a remote wellness practitioner. So the question is, why do people hire RWPs? Okay. And so why would somebody pay me $1,200, $2,400, $3,000 in order to help them? And let's just go ahead and play a game in order to demonstrate what we're talking about here. Okay. So I want you to imagine for one moment is that from this moment going forward, you never learn anything new about health and wellness. No more information. There's nothing new that you're going to learn. Okay. Then step number 2, once you realize you're not going to learn anything new, just hypothetically, I want you to think of 3 things right now that you know you could be doing for your health, but you aren't doing them right now. Think of those 3 things, okay? And then once you have those 3 things in mind, I want you to ask yourself, what's stopping you from being able to do those 3 things, even though you know you should be doing them, right? And so chances are there is something holding you back from being able to do those 3 things. And it's not no knowledge, because obviously you're not learning anything new, right? And so at the end of the day, this is something that we as humans struggle with. And this is where remote wellness comes in when we provide transformation to people. Because what it is that remote wellness is the bridge that we provide transformation to people from their current self and their current situation to their desired situation, okay? That's where remote wellness comes in. And so what we're doing is we're bridging that gap between someone's current situation and their desired situation. And so when we talk about why people are hiring and paying remote wellness practitioners, it's because of the fact that they're paying a premium for transformation through action. A lot of times we call this our magic toothbrush. It's exactly like when we were younger and our parents would basically tell us every single morning, hey, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. And initially they were our extrinsic motivation. They were the ones who were telling us to brush our teeth every single day, right? But now you wake up every single morning, right? You're an adult now, and hopefully, hopefully you wake up and you actually brush your teeth. And so what happened is that extrinsic motivation became intrinsic motivation, okay? And so what ends up happening is that the reason why people hire remote wellness practitioners, it's because of the combination of all of these forces, right? Because people are having information overwhelm, right? A lot of the factors that we talked about in the previous training about what is remote wellness, right? People struggling with what to do, right? The fact that we now have remote technology to be able to deliver what it is that we want to help people transform it. That puts remote wellness at the center of a very meaningful career that you can make a 6-figure plus income with without having to deal with all of the other difficulties of a typical business and a typical online business as well, okay? And so if you remember in one of the previous trainings, we talked about the statistics of why people are in so much pain. And so the beautiful thing about being a remote wellness practitioner is that it means turning these statistics around. And it means making a positive impact in the world while making a 6-figure plus income online. And so this is the reason why people pay for remote wellness practitioners, is because you are facilitating their transformation to their desired situation, okay? Now, the next thing that we want to go ahead and talk about, and this is going to be I'm very excited for this training. This is going to be an absolutely exciting training, is remote wellness transformation delivery models. Let's go ahead and now talk about what are the delivery models, the vehicles by which you're able to deliver this transformation through, okay? Now, here's the thing about the delivery models for transformation. There are 4 major delivery models when it comes to delivering transformation, and those 4 delivery models are one-on-one transformation model, group transformation model, online transformation model, and the hybrid transformation model, okay? Now, a couple of things I want to go ahead and talk about before we dive into them. Number 1, all of these delivery models are done remote, meaning that this does not happen in person, okay? So this does mean that you can have clients anywhere in the world, regardless of what delivery model we're talking about. And you can do these delivery models from your home, in your pajamas, from anywhere in the world, whatever it might be, okay? The other thing I want to go ahead and point out is the difference between facilitate and deliver, okay? So even though many times when I'm talking about this, just for colloquial purposes, right, I'm going to talk about delivery models, right? I'm going to talk about delivering transformation. I'm going to talk about providing transformation. However, the truth is that these terms are technically not correct. These terms are technically wrong because it's not actually possible to deliver or give someone or provide someone transformation, okay? All we can do as WRPs is really facilitate transformation for someone, okay? And so because it's not possible to give someone transformation, and because it's only possible for you to help and facilitate them getting that transformation, technically, when we say that we're providing transformation or delivering transformation, it's technically not the correct phrasing, okay? So whenever you hear me say provide or deliver transformation, I did want to just go ahead and point this out so that way you understand that what we're actually talking about is facilitating transformation. So an important distinction there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into, this is kind of like the graphic point of this, right? So we have on here one-on-one transformation, we have group transformation, we have online transformation, and then we have hybrid transformation, okay? So we're gonna go ahead now and dive into each of these so that way you can see what the difference, the pros and the cons of each of these are, and how all of this plays into your journey as a remote wellness practitioner. Okay, so the very first one that we're going to go ahead and talk about is we're going to go ahead and talk about one-on-one. So we're going to talk about the one-on-one transformation model. So one-on-one transformation is basically when you go ahead and meet with the client one-on-one at a scheduled time, okay? And so this meeting, quote unquote meeting, this meeting can happen anywhere. It can happen on Zoom, it can happen on phone. The actual method of it doesn't actually matter. It's just that this is actually just one-on-one, right? And so this model actually has a lot of pros. The pros of the one-on-one model is that it's easy to provide transformation. It's the easiest to sell. It allows the RWP to learn the fastest, and it also has the highest client retention. So that way clients stay with you longer because of the relationship and accountability. However, because it's on one end of the spectrum, on the left side of the spectrum, it does have a con, which is that you are restricted to the amount of clients that you can bring on. So the max number of clients typically that we see that the one-on-one model will start to go down at is about 20 clients, okay? So even though it is the easiest on many factors, because of the max number of clients that you are restricted to, typically the cap that you're gonna see on the one-on-one transformation model is between, anywhere between $0 to $300,000 a year, right? Obviously, if you're starting at zero, you're able to make substantially more than that. And then you're going to typically hit a cap around $300,000 a year, depending on your availability. Okay. So that is the very first transformation model that we're talking about here, all the way on the left side. Okay. Now, the next one is going to be the group transformation model. Now, the group transformation model is basically where you meet with 2 to 20 people at a time, all in one group, and you provide transformation to them all at once, okay? So it's still remote wellness delivering transformation, but it's just delivered in group remote format, okay? Now, the pros of this is that it allows you to scale more than one-on-one. It allows clients to still speak with you, right? So it allows for the relationship and the accountability. And it also allows now for group dynamics. And group dynamics is basically where clients can start to learn from each other. They can network with each other. So that way you're not having to do all of the transformation work to facilitate it. They can get transformation from each other as well, which is very cool. Now, the cons of this is that it's still not unlimited scale, right? Because you're still kind of restricted. And it's still not the easiest to sell, and it's not the easiest to provide transformation, okay? Because you still do not have unlimited scale, this model typically caps out between $300,000 to $1 million a year, but it's better than one-on-one. Yes, it's better than one-on-one, but we typically have difficulty getting over $1 million a year inside of this delivery vehicle, okay? Now, the third one that we're gonna go ahead and talk about is online transformation, the online transformation model. And that is the third one. And the online transformation model is basically when we have what we call a pathway of transformation, right? We have a proven pathway, a proven curriculum for transformation that we're gonna go ahead and walk clients through in pre-recorded trainings that is completely automated. So there's no human interaction at all. They basically just join the program and it's on them to go through the training. And so there's no accountability and there is no follow-up. Now, this training program is like what you're doing here in this training program is you're still delivering transformation, but it's just packaged in a different way, right? So all of these transformation models that we're talking about, what they're doing is they're just packaging the same thing, which is just transformation, and packaging it in a different way. So in this case, in the online transformation model, it's packaged in a portal instead of it being on a call. And the pro of this is that yes, you have unlimited scale of quantity, not quality. I'm going to talk about that here in a second, because it's actually, and the con of this is that it's actually the hardest to provide transformation for, right? It's very, very difficult to go ahead and give transformation to somebody in a pre-recorded format. And then on top of that, it's low client retention because there's no relationship or accountability, and it's not the easiest to sell, and it's not the easiest to provide transformation in, okay? And so because there is unlimited scale with online transformation, yes, you can grow it substantially more than one-on-one and group, but because of the low client retention, right, there's a sharp drop off on how big you can grow this, because after a number of students, right, after about maybe 50, 100 students or clients, what's going to happen is that people are going to stop getting transformation because there's no accountability. And the whole point of the transformation process, if you remember, was really that accountability factor, right? And so even though they know what they need to do, they need help doing it. And so as a result, even the online transformation model hits a cap at about $1 million to $3 million a year, because yes, you're getting quantity, but you're not getting the quality of results that are necessary for your clients, okay? And so that would then bring us to the fourth and final delivery vehicle for transformation, and that is the hybrid transformation model. So what is the hybrid transformation model? So the big thing you want to understand with this is that for the longest time, after one-on-one, you either had to go only to group or you had to only go online. However, in the last few years, what we've done is we've perfected what we call the hybrid transformation model. And what this does is it blends the best of all three, right? So it blends the best elements of one-on-one, the best elements of group, and the best elements of online, okay? And so what it does is it brings in the elements of one-on-one because they have one-on-one on the coaching calls. And then it brings in the group dynamics from group. It adds in accountability, and it also keeps the pro of online transformation because you still have a pathway of transformation that's scalable and it's not reliant on you. And now the other thing about this is that it's also easier to sell because you're having those group and one-on-one elements as well. Okay, so the pros of this, you have unlimited scale, it's easier to sell than online only, and you get that higher client retention of quality because you're still getting that interaction and that accountability. Now, if some of this stuff is going over your head, you're like, okay, well, what the heck does this mean? How does this apply to me? Don't worry, we're going to be giving you everything step by step, copy and paste, all the documents, all the swipe files, everything you need to be successful with this later on inside of the module. But the big thing that you just want to understand is the 30,000 foot overview of the different delivery models inside of remote wellness. Okay. So because the hybrid model has elements of all the other models, it really has true unlimited scale of both quantity and quality, which really allows you to scale from $3 million to $100 million plus because of the fact that you have all of the best elements of all of it. Now, I know for some of you might be thinking right now, what is this guy talking about? These numbers, they're flying over my head. $3 million a year, $100 million a year. Like, is this even possible? It's 100% possible. And I just want you to know, I know some of these numbers might be going over your head right now, but as you go through this journey, you're going to start to realize that, like, okay, once you can put food on the table, once you're making, a couple six figures a year, if you decided you wanted to, you don't have to, but if you decided you wanted to, you can really start to set your sights for something much bigger. And this opportunity vehicle allows you to do that. Okay. So next up, what we want to go ahead and do is let's go ahead and talk about the evolution of a remote wellness practitioner, right? So let's go ahead and take all of this information that we talked about and let's go ahead and make it specific to you. And so since you're starting on this journey of remote wellness, the question is, what is the best path for you? So let's go ahead and break it down. What you are going to be doing with all of this information that we just talked about, right? What you're going to go ahead and do is we're going to show you how to be able to first get started with one-on-one. And the reason you're going to get started with one-on-one is for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's because it's the easiest to sell. People love one-on-one and the perceived value of one-on-one is higher, especially if you are not experienced, right? You're not good at providing transformation right now. And so you make up for not being good at providing transformation by having one-on-one, okay? The second thing is that it's the easiest to provide transformation in, right? Because what happens is in one-on-one, because you're communicating with the client, you can pivot and adjust to the needs of the client and you can figure things out on the fly, right? So even if you don't know the answer to something, you can figure it out in a one-on-one setting versus in a pre-recorded format or, something that's not in a one-on-one setting, maybe in a group format. It's much harder to pivot. Okay. And so even though you're not that skilled yet and you're not that great of an RWP, because it's one-on-one, clients are willing to give you more slack. And that is a very big advantage of the one-on-one when you're first getting started. Okay. And again, remember, this is only when you're first getting started. Okay. The other thing is that for one-on-one, it's the easiest to have clients stay longer because one-on-one does is it builds a relationship with the client. And it's very hard for them to quit because they feel like they're quitting a relationship, okay? And so it's funny because I put in here funny story of trying to get rid of one-on-one clients. Back when I was doing one-on-one a couple years ago, I remember there was a point where we were transitioning to a different model and I had to actually get rid of some of my one-on-one clients. And it was so difficult for them. It was so difficult for me to be able to literally just be like, okay, bye. And it feels like you're saying goodbye to a friend, like somebody that's an integral part of your life. And so that's the reason why one-on-one is so powerful when you're getting started, because it's very easy to have clients stay on with you longer, okay? The other thing is that it's the easiest for you to learn when you are getting started, right? Because your number one goal when you start off as an RWP is to learn the ins and outs of how to deliver transformation, Okay. And so when you're working one-on-one with somebody, you will learn so much faster. You're going to learn so much faster. What are the typical client sticking points? One-on-one really forces you to repeat yourself over and over and over again. And what you do is every single time you're repeating yourself, you're refining what you're saying. You're refining as you get better, right? And so basically with that repetition, what you're saying starts to live so deep inside of your soul, it becomes an integral, cemented part of who you are. And then finally, it's also the easiest to get started making money quickly, right? At the end of the day, what we're here for is we want to make sure that we're having a successful career, making 6 figures plus inside of this career, right? And so for all of the above reasons, one-on-one, when you are getting started, is the fastest path to cash, okay? Now, what's going to happen? You might say, okay, well, after I finish one-on-one, do I go to group? Do I go to online? What do I do next? Well, here's the thing. What you're going to do after you finish going through one-on-one and you have some reps with one-on-one, what you're going to do is you're then going to go ahead and move to the hybrid coaching model. Okay. So you're going to be starting off in the one-on-one, and then you're going to be able to move to the hybrid coaching model. And this is really where things start to get very, very exciting because it unlocks the best of all worlds, right? You get the unlimited scale because you're no longer having to do it one-on-one. You can handle unlimited clients. You get the group dynamics, right? The client and the client community specifically. You get the higher client retention, and you get all of the benefits of all of the other models and almost none of the negatives, okay? So that's really where things start to get very cool. And the reason why you're able to go ahead and actually skip going from one-on-one, then having to go to group, and then having to go to online, and then go to hybrid is because as an RWP student, what we're going to go ahead and show you, we're going to go ahead and basically shortcut this process for you, and you're going to learn how to be able to go directly from one-on-one and then scaling directly to hybrid transformation because we've already broken it all down to you, right? So we're going to shortcut that process for you. However, just because we're shortcutting the process for you does not mean that you're able to just go, cool, I'm just going to go, and when I start, I'm going to go directly to hybrid. No. As you're about to see right now, it's very important to make sure that you start with one-on-one, and that's kind of like what is the potential there, right? So one-on-one is very, very important to start off with. So let me give you an idea of when I started, what was my journey going through all of this. So the way that I started and the way that all other successful RWPs in this program started is we basically started off with one-on-one. And so what we would do is we would meet with client every single week. And what that did is it forced us to learn fast. Because as I was talking to clients, right, what would end up happening was I would say X, and then the client would say, no. What you just said right there, that's not my problem, right? My problem is actually Y. And what it would do is it would force me to literally have to repeat myself or refine what I was saying so I could get better and better and better, right? So I got better at understanding the program, right? The science of transformation. And don't worry, you're going to be provided with the programs and how to deliver to clients when we get to that module. So don't worry too much about this. I just want you to understand that one-on-one allows you to get better at the program, okay? Then on top of that, right, it helped me with the skill of transformation, how to actually deliver that transformation. It helped me with that as well. And then it forced me to get better at handling client concerns before they came up, okay? And then as I evolved, I started talking to more than one person at a time. Right? Because I had done one-on-one, the crazy thing about that was that when I talked to people in groups of 5, 10, 20, they all got the same results as if it was one-on-one, if not better because of the group dynamics. And then eventually I built an online transformation program. But here's the thing. When I built an online transformation program, I actually couldn't sleep at night. And the reason for that being was because I was having people go through the training program. It was awesome, but they weren't getting the accountability that they were looking for, right? And so yes, an online transformation program was amazing for scale. It just wasn't the most amazing for quality. And so that's when we came up with the hybrid transformation model, which is what you're going to now be able to go to after one-on-one, which basically combines all of the best elements of all of the different models, okay? A couple other things on here I'm going to go ahead and touch base on very quickly. The reason why people buy group, online, and hybrid transformations, right? You might be saying, well, why doesn't everybody just buy one-on-one? And the reason for that is because as your skill of providing transformations get better, it's actually more costly and it's not as cost effective for somebody to purchase one-on-one with you, right? So as you put in more reps as a RWP, what's going to happen is that when you put in those reps with that specific transformation, you get better and better and better. And eventually you're going to be so good that you can increase your prices. But the problem is eventually your prices are so high that it's not affordable for most people to hire you one-on-one, right? And so let me give you an example. If I, right, for me, Coach Yasin, right? If I wanted to do one-on-one right now, I would probably charge more than $6,000 an hour for it to be really worth my time, okay? And I know that I can charge that much because I've had people pay me that much for one-on-one in the past. But the truth is that cost point, that's not affordable for most people, right? And so the thing is though, in our hybrid transformation programs, you get hundreds of hours of me for a fraction of the price, right? So you don't have to pay $6,000 an hour times, how many hundreds of hours you're able to get from me inside of this hybrid transformation program. You just pay a small fraction of that because it's a lot more scalable, right? And so the same thing is going to apply to you as well. As you get better as an RWP, and as your transformations become more powerful and effective, people are willing to use other ways to get access to your transformation so they can still benefit and it's still accessible for them. So that is the reason why everybody doesn't just immediately go to one-on-one, because you're going to start to get really, really, really good as an RWP, okay? Now, the last thing I want to touch base on, I know this training is a little bit longer, but stick with me here because it's very, very critical as we go through this, because this is the last point. Where new RWPs go wrong. This is very, 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 very important, okay? So what I want you to understand is that if you remember, online and hybrid are the hardest ways to provide transformation. Why are they the hardest ways to provide transformation? Because there is no feedback from the client, right? You're creating some online training, or you're creating some online transformation, and you're not getting that two-way street. It's a one-way street. Right now, as you're listening to me go through this training, it's a one-way street. I can't hear you right now, right? And so if you have not had enough exposure or experience to what the transformation process looks like, if you have not heard or seen or solved enough difficulties for clients, it's going to be very difficult for you to even know what obstacles or challenges that you need to help them through. And this is where most new RWPs go wrong, okay? What they try to do is they try to jump to the hybrid model too soon. This is very important. They try to jump to the hybrid model too soon, okay? So they come into RWA, they come into Remote Wellness Academy, and they say, great, I'm going to skip one-on-one because I don't got no time for one-on-one, and I'm going to go directly to the hybrid model, okay? Now, not only is it impossible for you to succeed that way, but you're also going to be a complete fraud, right? This is where those gurus that you see on social media and YouTube, right? They're flashing their Lambos and screenshots of their Amazon FBA business or their Stripe accounts, right? And then they disappear after 2 years, right? It's because they read about it, they didn't actually do it, right? They were fakes, they were frauds, right? They'd never done it themselves. And so the typical joke that I like to say about this is, imagine if you spent $3,000 selling stuff online to make $1,000, right? Basically you lost $2,000. And then you take a screenshot of that $1,000 and then you tell people that you made money online and you're going to show them how to do it, right? And so this is the reason why people who just skip the process and don't put in the work don't actually succeed long term, okay? And so it's very, 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 very important to understand that you need to do the work and you need to go through the evolution to make it big. There is no shortcutting the process, okay? Trust me, it ain't gonna work, okay? Now, yes, I understand one-on-one has limitations of scale, but your goal in the start, as you begin your journey in remote wellness, is to lay the foundations, okay? I want you to think of the bigger picture. Even if your time is limited, right? Even if you're like, you know what? I have my day job right now. I'm doing this other stuff. I don't really have that much time right now, right? Even if your time is limited, it's okay. You can just take on a very small handful of clients because those handful of clients will teach you more than you could ever imagine, okay? And yes, it might be difficult in the beginning. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, it is going to be difficult in the beginning. But that's the point, because you're learning the skills, you're learning the character traits, you're getting the beliefs needed for you to be successful in this career, in business, and in life. And here's the truth. And I'm going to be a little bit tough with you guys here. Some of you who are coming into this program have difficulty sticking to anything, right? You jump around at the first sight of resistance. As soon as it gets difficult, you say, cool, I'm going to jump ship. And then that thing starts to get difficult. And then you jump ship. And the truth is that when you're going up this mountain, the issue isn't the ship. The issue isn't the vehicle. The issue is with you jumping ship, because that resistance is going to be at that same point in the mountain over and over and over again. And so what one-on-one is going to do is one-on-one is going to teach you how to be able to have grit and stick with things when it gets hard and in order to push through, okay? That is the skill set that people who make $1 million plus a year have, and you will also acquire that skill set in this process, okay? We call it having your Rocky cutscene. If you guys have watched Rocky, the movie of Rocky, and how many versions there are, Rocky always has that cutscene where he's preparing for the fight, right? He's doing those push-ups, he's running up the mountain, he's running up the stairs, all that kind of stuff, right? You got to have your Rocky cutscene, because it's in that period where, you know, for one-on-one, you're boohoo, you're making $50,000 to $250,000 a year, which most people would be absolutely excited for, right? But it's in that period where you're doing one-on-one, where you're learning all of those skill sets that are going to allow you to be able to make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. But unless you go through the process first, you will never get to the process of making millions, okay? This is so critical. I cannot tell you how important what it is that we're talking about right now. It's absolutely critical, okay? The reason Coach Yasin, the reason that I can jump on here and start making these trainings, and they are still so transformational. The reason why I can do that is because I've spoken to hundreds and thousands of students and clients through one-on-one over the years. Okay, I've literally gone through the stages, okay? And so it may not seem like it to you, but I actually am an introvert right now. I'm telling you right now, it might not seem like it to you because you're like, oh man, this guy, he makes all these trainings and stuff like that. I'm actually an introvert. I struggled with severe, crippling imposter syndrome when I first got started. I literally could not get out of bed. I couldn't get myself to do anything because I felt like I was a fraud. I felt like I was an imposter. I felt like, why would anybody want to listen to me? Okay. And so my first few clients, I would actually have to change my shirt after talking to clients over the phone because of how much I was sweating. However, I stuck with it. I learned how to refine how I speak, and in the process, learned patience, hard work, and commitment. And then through that process, it allowed me to be able to develop the skill set that I needed in order to be able to sharpen my sword. And then every single small difficulty that the students and clients had, I knew how to answer their questions before their questions even came up. And that includes for you as well. As you're going through this training, some of the questions that you don't even know you have yet, I know that you're going to have them. I'm going to be able to answer them inside of this training. It's because I've done the reps, right? I've done the work of actually being in the trenches. And now, this is the other thing I want to go ahead and point out here. It's not just me. I'm not special, right? Every single one of our team members and coaches here at RWA, Remote Wellness Academy, we've gone through the same thing. We've gone through hundreds of transformations over the years, right? And none of us are special. All we did was we stuck with it and we had a lot of repetition. Now, here's the thing. Of course, because you joined the Remote Wellness Academy, you are not going to have to speak to hundreds and thousands of students in one-on-one settings in order to be able to get good enough to do hybrid. You're not going to have to do that, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to shortcut that process for you. However, you will have to still acquire the skill set and the character traits that you're going to learn from doing that initial one-on-one process, because it's going to be absolutely critical for you. And then from there, we're going to just absolutely launch you to the moon, because we're going to go ahead and shortcut the entire process for you. And then even in one-on-one, here's the crazy part. Even in one-on-one, we're going to shortcut the process because we're literally going to give you everything you need to be successful, okay? So one-on-one is where you sharpen your skills and get really good. It's where you learn the skill of transformation that will allow you, and here's the kicker, it's going to allow you to make money forever in any industry, in any economy, okay? If the world ends tomorrow, you can go back to doing one-on-one and making $300,000 a year all day long, okay? So don't be afraid. This is the best way. The best way to learn is going to be through one-on-one. You're going to get hands-on with the client. You're going to talk to them. You're going to learn things. And then before you know it, you're going to be moving on to hybrid, and you're going to have a skill set that's going to allow you to make money for the rest of your life, okay? So don't worry. Like I said, when we get to that module about your program and what you're going to do in one-on-one and what you're going to talk to clients about and all of that kind of stuff, we're going to give you everything A to Z, detailed, copy and paste, ready for you to go. And so we're going to be able to shortcut that process for you by so many years, but you just have to be willing to be able to commit to that process. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and highlight that inside of this training of the evolution of a remote wellness practitioner, okay? Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about your engagement here, right? So what I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and take a second right after this training. And I know we covered a lot. I know it was a little bit of a longer training, but what I would love for you to go ahead and do is I want you to let us know inside of the student community. What was your biggest takeaway from this training, right? What part of this training was the most eye-opening for you? And what are you the most excited for? Like I said, I know it was a big training. I know we went through a lot. I know it might have been a little bit of a workout, you having to sit here and go through all of that. But I want to know, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from this training? Go ahead and let us know inside of the student community. We love to hear from you. And with that being said, I will catch you on the next training.